Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar series organized by Persatuan Pegawai Sains Malaysia. Since its introduction in 2023, this series has showcased a wide range of topics across diverse scientific disciplines. Today marks the 12th and final session for the year 2025, and we are pleased to present another important and compelling topic. My name is Tibashini Nair Sadasivan, Science Officer from University Malaya, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, allow me to outline the flow of our webinar briefly. The session will run for approximately 1 hour, and the attendance link will be shared in the chat box after the 30th minutes. And our question and answer session will take place at the end of the presentation. Participants may post questions in the chat box at any time, and this will be addressed by our speaker during the question and answer segment. We look forward to a productive and engaging session. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Captain Dr. John Chia Kwong Siew. Dr. John is currently an associate professor at the Department of Pharmacy Practice and Clinical Pharmacy, Faculty of Pharmacy, UITM. A veterinary surgeon by training, he holds a PhD in molecular biology and has been a dedicated member of the UITM Institutional Biosafety Committee since 2011. Dr. John actively serves as the Occupational Safety and Health Subcommittee and is also the coordinator of the Laboratory Animal Facility and Management, where he oversees animal breeding programs, research ethics compliance, and laboratory animal welfare. He has served as a panel member for animal care and use committees at various government organizations, including FRIM, Malaysian Nuclear Agency, UKM, and is also UTHM's advisor on research ethics guidelines. Currently, Dr. John serves as the president of the Laboratory Animal Science Associations of Malaysia, vice president of the Asian Federation of Laboratory Animal Science Associations, and vice president of Malaysian Metabolomic Society. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Associate Professor Captain Dr. John Chia Kwong Siew with his talk title, Detect, Decide, Defend, a Strategic Approach to Biological Risk Management.
Yeah, hi. A very good morning, everyone. Thank you to the moderator, Miss Tibashini. So before we start, probably if I can share my slides first. Yeah, can everyone see my slide, please?
Yes, Doctor.
All right. So again, first of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Persatuan Sains, Persatuan Pegawai Sains Malaysia for this invitation. It is truly an honor to be speaking to all of you today here across the region. I understand that you also have international delegates from other countries as well, such as Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand. So your presence here today reflects our collective commitment to ensuring that the environments we work in, be it laboratories, healthcare facilities, research centers, remain safe, resilient, and prepared for biological threats. The title of today's talk, maybe I can also have some. Can you see my laser pointer? Can everyone see my laser pointer or just myself only?
Can, Doctor.
All right, that's great. All right, so the title of today's talk, Detect, Decide, Defend, a strategic approach to biological risk management, which captures the essence of modern biosafety. So by the end of this session, you should be able to apply risk assessment procedures, describe a likelihood and consequences, and perform risk characterization. Okay, as a science officer, this is very crucial for you to identify the hazard, do some basic risk assessment, penilaian risiko, and how to mitigate the risk. Okay, so these are the core skills, not only for biosafety officers, but also for daily scientific operation. Okay, regardless whether you work with infectious agent, chemicals, or advanced technologies. These principles guide safe practices. So this slide brings us back to a time we all remember during COVID-19 pandemic. Risk assessment guided national decision, okay, which includes movement control orders, okay, MCO, MCO 1, MCO 2, mask mandate, okay, kena pakai mask, vaccination strategies, first dose, second dose, and booster dose, even how we enter the buildings using My Sejahtera, if you still remember the history, many years back, 6 years back. This shows us that risk assessment and biosafety decision can scale from lab benches to national security framework. So what is biological risk assessment? So it is a systematic process of gathering information and evaluating risk. Okay, pengumpulan data dan penilaian risiko. Okay, based on the likelihood and consequences. Okay, how likely this hazard is or this incident is going to happen, and what is the severity of these incidents as consequences. Okay, kebarangkalian benda berlaku dan juga keturukan dia. Okay, kebarangkalian dan keturukan dia of an inadvertent release or exposure to biological agents. So it is essential to decide whether or not the risk is acceptable. Okay, if the risk is not acceptable, then guide the selection of risk control measure. So what are the control measures that you can impose to reduce or mitigate the risk? Okay, such as you set your own SOP, do this and don't do that, so as to reduce the chance of occurrence of that particular risk. Okay, purpose, this is to ensure risk to laboratory personnel, to the public, and to the environment are consistently minimized to acceptable level. So here we see the AMP model. This is the model we use for biorisk management. Okay, biorisk ni adalah risiko berkenaan dengan biologi, biorisk, pengurusan risiko. Okay, AMP model. This is a very good model that everyone else is using. Okay, A stands for assessment. Okay, M for mitigation, and P for performance. Okay, forming a three-legged structure, tiga kaki. Without any of these legs, the entire risk management structure becomes unstable. Okay. And today's presentation, I will walk you through the first and second legs. Okay, assessment. Lepas tu apa yang kita buat untuk mengurangkan risiko tersebut. Okay, and if you can handle this assessment and mitigation well, and that will bring to a very good performance for your institution or lab. Okay, and this is how the risk assessment strategies is being looked at. Okay, we have color in blue assessment. Okay, for the assessment part, it would describe work activities. Okay, what type of work that is present in your lab, in your facility, and what type of hazards are there. Okay, is there any hazards related to your work activities? And determine the risk. Okay, what is the level of risk? Negligible, minor, major, etc. And determine whether the risk is acceptable. Okay, so there is no such thing as a risk-free in the laboratory setting. Okay, so we have to mitigate the risk to until it reaches an acceptable level for the personnel. Okay, be it researchers or the manager of the lab. Okay, if the risk level is acceptable, then the researcher can proceed with work and monitor the control measures. Okay, that they have already decided. Okay. For example, the control measures such as the use of biosafety cabinet and the use of PPE, so on and so forth. Okay, and follow the SOP. Okay. If the risk is not acceptable, and then the researcher, the principal investigator, or the lab user will have to revise their project and then prepare. And on the other hand, they will have to prepare or us as a science officer, we have to prepare the risk control action plan. And then we can implement the control measures. For example, certain pathogens should not be, the work involving the pathogen should not be done in an open bench. It must be done, it must be done in a biosafety cabinet, okay, to control the release, inadvertent release of the pathogenic agent, okay. Supaya pathogen ni adalah penyebab penyakit, okay. Most likely they are microorganism yang boleh menyebabkan penyakit. It is called a pathogen, okay. So once the control measures has been implemented, okay, you after a while you have to review the adequacy of plan, okay, and then this cycle continues. Cukup tak apa control measure, langkah-langkah berjaga ataupun polisi dasar yang kita tetapkan, cukup tak? Sekiranya tak cukup, the risk is still not at the acceptable level, then we have to revise the project again, and then we have to repeat this cycle, prepare the risk control action plan dan sebagainya sehinggalah until we reach a level that the risk is acceptable. Then only you will proceed with your work. Okay, this is the framework of risk-based decision making. First of all, you have to gather the information about what activities ataupun the biological agents or type of work in your lab. Okay, if you can see from here, biological agent, their pathogenic characteristics. Apakah pathogen ini berbahaya? Okay, it will cause disease. or severe disease such as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, then you have to handle the bacteria with care, okay, strictly under the biosafety cabinet. A type of laboratory work and procedure. Okay, contohnya melibatkan blood sampling from human, from animal. Then you have to aware of this the possibility of needle prick injury, needle stick injury. Okay, type of equipment, type of laboratory facilities, and human factors, the level of competency of personnel. Okay, contoh, if you have a new staff joining your facility or your lab, so you have to, I would say you have to give them a basic training first. You cannot assume that they can pick up by their own. So kita akan we'll highlight to them the important do's and don'ts to them, and then we have to have a basic training with them. Okay. And then, and of course, this biosafety training is very crucial to them, so that they will know, they will be able to identify the hazard, and they can do a simple risk assessment, okay, on the hazard itself. Okay. Other factors such as that will also affect the risk-based decision making, such as legal, social, cultural, socio-economic, and public perception. Once we gather all this information, then only we will evaluate the risk, okay, the risk level. And then we will develop, membangunkan the strategy to mitigate the risk, langkah-langkah untuk mengurangkan berlakunya risiko ataupun insiden tersebut. Okay. Dan seterusnya, we will select and implement the control measures. Okay, we can, among science officer and your subordinates, you can brainstorm what we can do to mitigate the risk. Okay, what we can do to mitigate the risk. For example, handling of microbiological samples. Okay, something like administrative control. We impose the ruling that before you open the door, your hands shall be gloves free. Okay, kena buka glove sebelum, before you go to the toilet, you have to take off your lab coat dan sebagainya. Those are the control measures. Okay. And then after doing that, you can review the risk and the control measures that you have set. You have suggested by all your staff members. Okay, even though you are science officer, try to get your assistant science officer and also lab assistant to participate in proposing these suitable control measures. Okay. And then this cycle repeats. Okay. Plan, do, check, and act. Okay. Okay. Do plan. The planning stage, you will gather all the information, and then you will do the assessment, and then you will check if the control measures are effective, and act is to review the outcome of your control measures. If it is not good enough, then the cycle repeats. Okay, this is the detail of plan, do, check, and act cycle. Okay, for the planning stage, it will start with assessing the risk and identifying the control measures. Brainstorm. That's why the meeting among science officer with your subordinates are particularly important. You need to have communication with them, and then they need to report the near misses to you. Near misses means accident belum berlaku tapi hampir-hampir berlaku. Near misses. Okay. Near miss near miss. Maknanya dia belum berlaku, dia sikit lagi kena kita tapi tak berlaku. Okay, near miss. Okay. So they have to report all these near miss to us so that you as a science officer, you can plan what are the mitigation plan to avoid the accident happen in future. Plan, do, implement control measure, check, monitor the performance of control measure. Is it good enough? Any improvement of the protocol or of the SOP that we have set for the students, for the researcher? And then the last one will be act. Take action on lesson learned. Okay, reviewing all the reports periodically. Periodically meaning that you can have this review process ad hoc, like a half yearly or at least on annual basis. Okay. So this is an example of how to categorize a few different conditions. In this case, unsafe condition, unsafe act, near miss, and accident that actually has happened. Okay. In the first case, if you can see that there is a broken split at the connecting hose here that will be connected to the hot cleaning water, high temperature hot cleaning water at 80 degrees Celsius, which is considered unsafe. Unsafe act, when this employee, he realized about this, but he still, there is no other options for him to get hot water, so he still uses this the hose with the broken split and connect it to the hot water tap. Okay. So near miss in this case, when he unlocked the switch and then this broken hose detached from the tap, and then the hot vapor almost hit the employee. Okay, so but it does not cause any incidents or accident. Accident when the hot water splashes on the employee itself. Okay, all this, even though up to near miss, you have to report to your science officer, or you have to report to your occupational safety and health committee about all this. Then they will do a plan, do, check, act, evaluation on how to mitigate this. Can it still be used, or they have to stop working on this until it is fixed? The second example shows unsafe condition where if you can see here, rusty lifting gear. Dah berkarat, masih boleh guna. So this is unsafe. This is unsafe because it may detach from the connection here anytime. So unsafe act refers to the individual who still passing by beneath this cargo, this stuff. Okay, near miss, tengok yang rantai ni putus, and then the whole stuff drop from the crane itself, and but it didn't hit the employee, the worker. Okay, accident happens when it falls on the workers. Okay, benda-benda ni semua, all this must be reported to the officers to your institution, OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health and Environment. Okay. But even at your very own level, you can actually do a quick risk assessment, and you can come up with a mitigation plan. Okay. When should we conduct risk assessment? Okay, bila masa kita nak buat penilaian risiko. So these are a few examples. So when we are introducing something new, new procedure, new equipment, new personnel, or we are entering a new lab or building, then we have to do risk assessment. Okay, is it safe dan sebagainya. Ataupun when we are doing something for the first time. Okay, before that, tak pernah buat. Okay, we are doing something for the first time, then you have to conduct a quick risk assessment in your brain. If I were to operate this, what are the risks? Have I already read the manual thoroughly? It looks like very similar to the previous model, but is it safe? We are doing that for the first time. Okay, so you have to consider all the risk with the new instrument or equipment. After accident or incident, we have to do risk assessment. Why it happened? Kenapa boleh terjadi kemalangan dan sebagainya. Schedule. Okay, schedule ni berkala. Berkala means it is already set by your institution that you have to do the review on annual basis. And again, compliance to the regulations. Okay, akta, peraturan dan sebagainya. Or before doing something complicated or dangerous. For example, before you ask your new staff to operate a autoclave machine. Dia pun tak tahu autoclave machine ni, okay, just masukkan beaker dan sebagainya, then turn on the machine, and then when what are the precautions before and after autoclaving, you have to brief your staff. So as a superior of your assistant science officer, what you will evaluate is the risk assessment for the new personnel, staff baru. Can she understand the working principle of a new autoclave machine? What are the precautions, and so on and so forth. Okay. So these are the examples of hazardous material that commonly found in lab. If you are from histo lab, so I think these chemicals are not strange to you. Okay, so formaldehyde, xylene, staining kan, untuk staining, the processing of the tissue. These are the possible carcinogen. Carcinogen means it can cause cancer. Okay, whereas in the molecular lab, you have ethidium bromide. Not sure if any of you are still using this. Kita dah tak guna, kita guna alternative. Okay, kita dah eliminate this hazard, gantikan dengan another dye, cyber safe. Okay, kita guna cyber safe, which is less hazardous. It is not zero, again, it is less hazardous compared to ethidium bromide. Mutagen ni, meaning that it can cause mutation to your genetics. It could, your genetic can become better or worse. Kalau worse tu dia akan menyebabkan mungkin cancer dan sebagainya. Okay. Ataupun mutagen ni can cause reproductive defects. Okay, kecacatan kepada kandungan dan sebagainya. Okay, acrylamide, carcinogen, phenol, toxic, chloroform, toxic and carcinogen. And we have at the multi-purpose lab some chemicals such as sulfuric acid, very highly corrosive, hydrochloride acid, highly corrosive as well. Apart from the chemical materials, other hazardous materials present at the lab setting are biological agents, bacteria, E. coli that may cause diarrhea, Staphylococcus aureus may cause food poisoning before eating. That's why we do not encourage eating in the lab, because the lab is contaminated to a certain extent. The lab, it will be very difficult for a lab to be completely sterile. Okay, tak boleh sebab we are bringing in and out the bacteria. The minimum amount of bacteria will escape from the containment, very to certain extent. Okay. Proteus mirabilis may cause a urinary tract infection to the personnel, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa respiratory tract. Ini Pseudomonas, bukan Pseudomonas, Pseudomonas. Ini typo. Okay. Yeast, Candida albicans, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and for those who are dealing with viruses, hepatitis virus, human immunodeficiency virus. Oh, baru slide yang ke-11 kena laju sikit lah. Okay, biological agent. So what is known as about the agent? Okay, dia punya pathogenicity, can it cause disease? Okay, virulence, the degree of pathogenicity, how severe the disease that it may cause. Okay, kita panggil virulence. Host range, are these pathogen zoonosis ataupun zoonotic, restricted to human only, or restricted to animal only, to plant only, or they can cross infect each other, which we call that zoonosis. Okay, communicable disease, are there reports of epidemic or laboratory infection? Okay, transmission, direct contact through ingestion, makan, ataupun inhalation, pernafasan. Environmental stability, okay, some of the bacteria spores are resistant to certain disinfectant. That's why in terms of buying, purchasing, kita panggil apa? Acquiring, bukan purchase. Purchasing lah, boleh lah. Purchasing disinfectant. We cannot compromise on that. Sekiranya lab kita, cadangan, kita perlu guna Decon 90, then we have to buy Decon 90. Instead of we use sunlight, the sunlight we can get from a supermarket at a cheaper price, 10 ringgit per bottle, in comparison to Decon 90, 300 ringgit per bottle. Okay, we cannot compromise on that because certain disinfectant cannot kill bacteria spores. They are resistant Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, this for this highly pathogenic bacteria, they need a better disinfectant to kill them. Additional agent factors such as toxicity, okay. In this case, is the agent associated with cancer? For example, hepatitis B virus is often associated with liver cancer. Does the agent or byproduct induce allergic reaction? Because as you know, some of us are allergic to certain drugs. So if we are handling penicillin, for example, for antibacterial resistant tests, you may be in touch with penicillin. So be aware of that. So that could be one of the hazardous material to certain people. Okay, allergic to penicillin, allergic to some other antibiotics. And this is a guide how you know how do you do risk assessment for the microorganism. Okay, you can check online at this website, pathogen safety data sheet. Just key in the name of the bacteria of your researchers, for example, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and then on this webpage by Public Health Agency of Canada, or just any of the public health agency, it will display you with all the risk assessment of this pathogen, and then also some suggestion for mitigation and what you should do if you are in contact with the pathogen. Okay, apa langkah-langkah berjaga first thing, and then the consequences dia. Sekiranya dah terkena the splashes, the spills, then what it can pose to human health. Okay, these are the common routes of laboratory exposure. Termakan, ingestion. Inoculation means needle stick accident, cuts from sharp objects. Percutaneous, okay. Tercala sikit ke, mungkin virus tu dah masuk, okay, bakteria dah masuk. Contamination of skin and mucous membrane through the splash of the chemical toxic corrosive chemical into your eyes ataupun in the pathogenic bacteria into your eyes. Those are considered the exposure, okay, ataupun termakan, okay, termakan. So this is the risk equation. The risk is the function of likelihood and severity. Kebarangkalian insiden ni berlaku, accident berlaku, very likely or very unlikely or very likely, dan dia punya keterukan dia on the x-axis. Keterukan dia tak ada apa, very trivial, minor, dan sehinggalah membunuh. Very severe consequences where it can bring fatality. Okay, boleh membunuh. So the risk assessment is based on this matrix. Okay, using this function, risk is the function of likelihood and severity. Okay, likelihood or the probability. The probability of an incident, that is exposure to ataupun inadvertent release of biological agent occurring during the course of laboratory work. Okay, kita kena terexpose kepada biological agent ataupun terlepas, okay, the release of biological agent secara tidak sengaja. Okay. Alright, ada soalan kan, nanti saya jawab. Okay, saya habiskan dulu . Okay, baik. Assess with the consideration of the existing control measure, the range of classification for likelihood. Okay, kebarangkalian benda ni berlaku, very rare, almost impossible to occur, unlikely, not very possible to occur, possible, might occur, likely, very possible to occur, and almost certain, highly probable to occur. So kita akan classifykan the likelihood into basically 5 categories. Okay. Factors affecting with a high likelihood of incidents occurring, laboratory activities associated with aerosolization. When aerosols are generated, the likelihood of exposure through inhalation is increased because the aerosol, the vapors, the droplets are present in the air, so they are easily inhaled by the researcher. laboratory activities with sharp materials, the likelihood of percutaneous exposure. Okay, melalui tempat yang tercucuk the needle prick injury. Okay, exposed to a biological agent through a puncture wound increases. So ada yang peralatan yang kita guna for simulation purposes, untuk simulasi kan, tajam benda tu kena you have to set the SOP how to use that. Even though this is for simulation, not for human, sometimes it may still pose a risk to the researcher or to the lab personnel. Consequences, okay, severity, keterukan dia. Tadi kita dah bincang kebarangkalian. Sama ada dia boleh berlaku ke tidak. Sekarang ni, sekiranya berlaku, what are the consequences in terms of severity? The outcome of an incident, exposure to or release of biological agent of varying severity or harm occurring in the course of laboratory operation. So a range of classification for consequences. Trivial, tak ada apa. Okay, trivial tak ada apa. Minor, incident with self-limiting consequences. Sikit je dia punya keterukan dia. Moderate. Boleh tahan juga, moderate. Okay, which requires medical treatment or has insignificant environmental consequences. Major ni kira agak serius jugalah, agak serius. Incidents with potential lost time due to infection. Okay, contoh cirit ambil MC 2 hari. Itu potential lost time lah. Tak boleh kerja. Not fit to work. But non-permanent consequences or limited environmental impact. Kalau severe ni maksudnya potential fatality. Contoh mungkin HIV kan. Dia kesan dia sangat teruk dan long term kan. Serious illness with permanent disability and serious environmental impact. So kita kena kaji lah kebarangkalian risiko ni berlaku versus keterukan dia. Okay. Factors associated with the greater consequences if an accident were to occur. Contoh, high severity and mortality. A laboratory associated infection following exposure is likely to cause personnel to become debilitated. Dia jadi sangat sakit, teruk. Okay, lost their quality of life or die. Contoh kalau yang research yang menggunakan virus HIV kan, sebelum dia diinactivatekan dan sebagainya, ia adalah sangat berbahaya lah. Kena langkah-langkah berjaga tu lah macam mana. Okay, semua ikut SOP yang ketat. Limited availability of effective prophylaxis. Ini prophylaxis ni ubat pencegahan tu tak ada, ataupun therapeutic intervention. Sekiranya dah dapat penyakit ni, Epstein-Barr virus ni, dia tak ada, there is no cure. Therapeutic intervention very limited. There is no cure, just symptomatic and probably membunuh. So these are the things that increases the consequences, keterukan dia. Okay, keterukan dia. But sekiranya nak buat research yang melibatkan keterukan, consequences yang tinggi, you have to make sure that the likelihood is very low. Walaupun dia sangat teruk, tapi the likelihood to be in contact with the pathogen is very low. So masih boleh diteruskan dengan adanya facility with some engineering control. Facility dia kena BSL level 3, ada glove box, tangan saja masuk dan sampel di sebelah kaca. Satu lagi, okay, sampel delivery and the personnel is separated by a glass wall, and then the manipulation is through glove box. Boleh imagine I think boleh imagine kat semua pegawai sains kan. So this is the risk matrix risiko ni. Okay, ini sangat penting. Okay, ini sangat penting. Boleh tuan-tuan puan-puan boleh guna lah risk matrix ni tampal dekat lab. Okay, risk matrix. Okay, the risk assessment matrix define the risk based on the likelihood of exposure and the consequences. Sebelah tepi adalah consequences. Negligible, minor, moderate, major severity. Manakala sebelah atas ni adalah kebarangkalian. Likelihood of getting this exposure sangat jarang, tak mungkin, unlikely, possible, likely, almost certain. Okay. Acceptable level of risk in the laboratory is usually referred to as the risk tolerance. So setiap kajian pendidikan semestinya ada risiko dia. Dia tak ada risk zero, tak ada. Kalau risk zero tu kira apa kajian itu dia punya merit tak tinggi lah. Sebab benda yang kita buat mestilah ada impact kepada kesejahteraan manusia, kesejahteraan haiwan dan sebagainya. Sekiranya risiko dia tinggi, kita nak kaji apa? Kita nak kaji E. coli. Sebab mungkin kemungkinan dia menyebabkan cirit-birit. Impact dia tak tinggi lah. Contoh kita nak kaji HIV virus, the vaccination, impact dia tinggi. Okay, mesti ada risk. Okay. So in this case, kejap ya. I have 10 minutes left. Okay, baik, kita kena laju sikit. So, tuan-tuan boleh ambil lah yang kolom-kolom yang color kuning. Color kuning. Medium, 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 medium. Okay, semua boleh proceed. Sekiranya yang merah ni tak boleh proceed. We shall not start. Example of risk assessment. Okay, considering if you are doing mycobacterium tuberculosis. So, in the biosafety cabinet, so the likelihood of this bacteria to escape from biosafety cabinet is very low, even though severity, keterukan dia tinggi. So it falls under the moderate risk. If you can recall the previous matrix, moderate risk, medium, 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 semua boleh proceed. Ni consequences high, medium, tapi dia punya likelihood pun medium. Okay, boleh proceed. Same go to processing blood sample. Okay, yang ni you can check nanti likelihood untuk berlaku healthy kan. Consequences dia pun rendah, moderate. Likelihood kena needle prick ni rendah sebab kita dah ambil langkah-langkah penjaga. Considering if you are handling Brucella culture in open bench, ini open bench ni sangat berbahaya lah sebab it is not done in the biosafety cabinet. So it can be released and it can infect the personnel. So very high risk. So for this case, as a science officer, you do not allow this research to be carried out in your lab. Sebab sangat berbahaya. Nanti the personnel within the same lab will be infected with this virus. Okay, it becomes a disaster. Okay, ini adalah message lah yang saya nak bagi tahu. Bring home message for risk assessment. Risk assessment requires careful judgment, underestimation of risk. Tak boleh underestimate, tapi tak boleh overestimate juga. Kalau kita overestimate, then it will incur the extra cost and burden. No enhancement in safety. Buat banyak-banyak pun dia sama je. Okay. So do not underestimate or do not overestimate the risk. Okay. Must be practical. Kalau kita overestimate the risk, nak pasang ini, nak pasang ni, duit dari mana? Duit dari mana? Nanti bos kita tanya, duit dari mana? Okay, baik. Use whatever resources you have at the lab to mitigate the risk. Okay, next move on to risk mitigation. Okay, pengurangan risiko. Macam mana? Okay, at the end of this module, okay, you will be able to describe the hierarchy of control. Okay, nak start dari mana? apply hierarchy of control, perform risk mitigation, and state the performance needs for risk mitigation. Okay, again yang apa model 3 kaki ni ya. Assessment, lepas tu kita rancang apa perancangan kita untuk mengurangkan risiko. How to mitigate the risk imposed by the hazards. So, of course, the biorisk mitigation is to prevent laboratory-acquired infection. Okay, this is for the researcher ataupun for the lab assistant dan sebagainya, occupational health, ataupun to prevent dan juga to prevent secondary infection from the infected lab workers to other individuals ataupun direct transmission of agent terlepas secara tak sengaja daripada lab dan menjangkit kepada orang lain. The third purpose is to prevent environmental contamination caused by the secondary transmission to animal and to the environment. Tujuan dia kita nak buat biorisk mitigation. The hierarchy of hazardous hazard control. Okay, first of course elimination ataupun substitution, like in our lab kita dah gantikan ethidium bromide dengan cybersafe as a staining material for DNA. So we eliminate lah agent penyebab kepada carcinogen. Okay, for molecular lab. Engineering control, yes, this is very simple. Biosafety cabinet. Administrative control, kita buat ruling, set the SOP so as to ensure good practices and procedures are followed. Ini administrative control dengan practices combine satu. Okay, through the administrative control. Okay, the last adalah PPE, mestilah sentiasa guna, pakai mask dan sebagainya. Okay. So elimination, what does it mean? Physical removal of the hazard is the most effective hazard control. However, elimination of hazard is not possible because the job scope involves handling a hazard agent. For example, kalau kita cakap, oh ini bahaya sangat, kita tak payah buat. Okay, tapi for example, doctors, nurses when treating the patient with infectious disease, exposure to the infectious agent is not possible to eliminate. Itu kerja dia. Itu kerja dia. So, same goes to science officer. Kerja dia adalah menjaga sampel penyidik-penyidik. Termasuklah sampel patogen yang berbahaya. Okay? Itu kerja kita. So, kita tak boleh nak eliminate. So, apa yang kita buat? Mitigation. Okay? Substitution, in this case, this is the second most effective hazard control involving replacing something that produces hazard. For example, pesticide ada yang contain DDT ni berbahaya kan, it may cause carcinogenic. Kita spray rumpai kan, bukan rumpai, panggil apa? Betul lah, weed. Okay, may cause fetus, may affect fetus development. So kita boleh gantikan dengan green pesticide, organic, 100% organic. This is one of the mitigation approach, menggantikan DDT dengan something yang lagi selamat. Engineered control, engineered control ni melibatkan kos dan mahal lah. Kalau nak setiap satu lab tu ada 2 biji BSc, Biosafety Cabinet, itu macam not practical lah. Duit dari mana? Okay. So maybe this is you have to, as a science officer, you have to plan a logbook. Kena book lah masa nak guna bila, siapa. Lepas guna, kena bersihkan. Those are the administrative control that you can think of. Okay. So administrative control, as I said just now, adalah arahan daripada science officer. Okay. Pelaksanaan sebagai langkah-langkah berjaga lah untuk control measure to mitigate risk. Okay, kita boleh bagi arahan, tapi orang nak ikut ke tak nak ikut, kita tak pernah buat apa sebenarnya. So, contoh yang ni kan, dia bagi amaran ada bom, booby trap di workers lab. However, it cannot prevent people from swimming in it. Macam itulah example. Last adalah personal protective equipment. This includes the gloves, overall, respirator, hard hats, safety glasses, and safety footwear. So PPE is often the least effective yet the most important means of controlling hazard. Kita jaga kita sendiri ya, okay. Such as healthcare and asbestos remover. Okay. Yang penting sebenarnya PPE ni you need some training. Ada yang pakai glove tu tapi glove tu tak ketat. Tangan dia M tapi dia nak pakai juga yang glove XL. Macam itulah the proper selection and the proper wearing of glove is essential. Okay. Ataupun proper wearing of protective equipment is contoh pakai mask pun ada mask yang dia longgar, dia tak ketat mask tu. Okay. So risk mitigation strategy, this is repetition, elimination. Kalau boleh kita remove the hazard, kalau tak boleh kita substitute the hazard with a different material ataupun kita kurangkan volume dia. Okay, mitigation to reduce. Okay, use control measure. Ini adalah contoh lah how to decrease the risk in your lab menggunakan haiwan. Risiko dia tinggi sikit dan kita boleh pilih untuk guna cell culture ataupun just guna DNA. It will further decreases the risk. Type of strain for viruses sangat pathogenic, attenuated virus ataupun we can use the kill viruses. Kill viruses means it can no longer infect the personnel. For vaccine development boleh. For your information, Sinovac tu dia guna kill. I think kill virus. Attenuated kill. Quantity, sekiranya kita guna banyak, mestilah risiko dia tinggi. So, kita boleh kurangkan lah. Suggest not more than berapa. Simpan dalam lab kita, not more than berapa. Okay, based on your risk assessment. Okay, strategies to reduce. Ini adalah contoh-contoh. Tuan-tuan puan-puan boleh baca lah. Elimination, reduction, substitution, isolation, ini guna biosafety cabinet. Compliance ni adalah administrative control. Kita peraturan yang kita set. Okay, SOP yang kita set, dan protection adalah penggunaan PPE. No one mitigation is perfect. Okay, tak ada satu cara yang perfect. Implementing one mitigation measures alone has holes or weaknesses. Dia ada kelemahan dia. Tapi sekiranya seandainya kita guna multiple mitigation model, contoh kita guna BSC, kita buat SOP, kita guna PPE, kita guna substitution, bahan kimia yang lebih selamat, those will mitigate the risk of an unwanted incidents to happen. Okay, saya ada video saya nak tunjuk. Okay, this is what I meant by multi-layer mitigation. Yeah. How to play the video ni. Okay, so itu saja. Okay, satu lagi slide. Okay, I think satu lagi slide to conclude. So implementing risk control measures. Okay, lab personnel must follow appropriate practices and procedure, and then provide feedback in their effectiveness. Proper prior review of cost. Okay, kita nak apa? Do not overestimate the risk, otherwise it will incur cost. Or nak pasang ini lah, HEPA filter lah, semua duit dari mana? Okay, availability of funding, installation, maintenance, and security and safety criteria should be undertaken. Guna apa saja yang available in your laboratory setting. Okay, itu saja daripada saya. With this, I would like to acknowledge my One Health University Network Biological Threat Reduction Program, and Sandia National Laboratories and Institutional Biosafety Committee of UITM. With this, I thank you very much. Over to you, Ms. Tiba.
Thank you, Doctor, for such an informative sharing. So we have one question here from Juan Arni. What are the common competency gaps you observe in lab personnel regarding biological risk assessment?
The common, come again, the question?
The common competency gaps that you observe in our lab personnel in universities, regarding the risk assessment.
All right, so I would say I observe several competency gap. Okay, first of which is the limited understanding of actual risk. So people know the steps, but not the rationale behind the step. And then the secondly is the incorrect use of biosafety cabinet. For example, if you notice, they are the grills at the front of the biosafety cabinet, blocking the grills, improper arm movement, and also overloading the workspace. They put a lot of things in the biosafety cabinet. And then improper PPE practices, especially during the doffing. Donning means pakai, doffing means taking off the gown, for example, and also the mask, where the outer surface of the mask is contaminated, heavily contaminated with pathogens, for example. So how do you make sure that when you take it off, you have to dispose that properly as well? Okay, it's the highest risk moment. And another thing I can think of is inconsistent sharp handling, including recapping of needles, okay, and delay disposal. Put one side first, the intermediate step. So that one you should also guide your students or your subordinates on that. Overconfidence, particularly among the experienced staff who may underestimate the risk. Oh, ini tak apalah, tak apalah. Okay, the tak apalah attitude you have to put one side because it is dealing with the biosafety. Okay, failure to report a near miss. Accident tak berlaku. Okay, tak apalah, tak payah report lah, kena isi boran lagi lah. Try how to simplify the reporting process. I think that is another thing that by a science officer can propose and can do. Okay, which if you don't do this proper reporting of near miss, this may hide early warning signs of system weakness. Okay, I think all these gaps can be addressed through competency-based training, regular audits, and continuous coaching. Is that good?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah,
I agree with you as well.
Yeah.
So we have another one question,
Yeah.
Doctor, maybe the last question lah, as the time is limited. So we'll just address another one question
Sure.
from Puan Mayuri
Yeah.
Ishtar. So how far should we consider indoor air quality testing and reporting for laboratories?
Indoor air quality testing. Do you have the problem with the fungus or the humidity? You mean humidity or humidity, temperature, indoor air quality, the particulates in the air, so on and so forth. But as far as I'm concerned, the indoor quality here refers to the fungus problem at our facility, where the humidity is too high, and then sometimes there is some leaking points from somewhere, the aircon vent or the piping. So, and also due to the condensation. So I think it is crucial to report if there is any the problem with the fungus at your lab. So it is crucial. Yep.
Thank you, Doctor. I hope that answer your question, Puan Mayuri. Okay, with that, we have come to the end of today's session. Once again, thank you very much, Doctor, for accepting our invitation and also for your informative and insightful sharing. So to all attendees, don't forget to fill in the attendance form. And thank you for joining and for your continued support of the PPSM webinar series. We look forward to bringing you more engaging and meaningful sessions in 2026. With that, please stay tuned for our upcoming programs. And thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Ms. Diva, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor.
Hope to see you again. All right, bye.